Welcome to the Unaccountable podcast. I'm here with Patrick today. He's going to tell us all about his financial stories. This is a podcast about real stories, real time, and hopefully we can all take something from it.
Well, I am an actor here in New York City, and so I've been living here about 17 years, and so it was really me pursuing my dream, my goal of being an actor. So that's what I've been doing for the last 17 years is reaching toward that Broadway goal, and I finally reached it this year. So it's been a great year as far as that, and reaching some career goals of mine. But for this podcast, it actually goes back a little further when in my early years of being in New York. I was in a relationship, and so it was it. I guess we'd been together about a year and a half by this point, or close to a year and a half. And he was going back to graduate school, but needed help with that money. And he was trying to find his own financial aid and that kind of thing. But he's an international student. He was from Spain, so finding financial aid here in America was a little more difficult for him, and he needed a cosigner. And I had heard about the troubles of co-signing. Don't do it. It's you're on the hook for it. But I was in a relationship, and I was in a place where I guess I wanted to do what I needed to do to help this relationship. And so I did the co-signing. It was for a private loan, so it wasn't a government loan or anything. And so the interest rate was at 10%, which was even high back then. And it's high now, but that was high back then. I had an excellent credit score, so I was confused as to why it was so high. But this was his only way to go back to graduate school, and I wanted to help, so I co-signed the loan. And within, I think, 2 or 3 months after that, we broke up. So it was right. It didn't help the relationship, so I didn't need to do it. But he did end up going to graduate school, and so at least it did help him. But then after graduate school, obviously we had split up. He then went on to continue his work. Eventually went back to Spain. But I will say, and I started to worry, it's like, oh God, now I'm going to be on the hook for it. It was a $35,000 loan. So I'm going to be on the hook for this. But he has been very diligent. That was 15 years ago. And over the 15 years, he's been very diligent in making payments. However, many deferments along the way when he would run into financial trouble. So he would have to defer. So over the course of the 15 years, that $35,000 loan is at about 32,000 still. So that's that it started at 10%. Then because it was variable rate, it bounced between like 4% during like COVID or bad times. It went up to 14%. That's where it was at its most recent 14%. So this year was the first year that he really came to me and said, I'm not going to be able to make any payments because of this and that. And so it was the first time in 15 years that he came to me. So now I'm on the hook for making these payments. I'm trying to figure it out. So even though it took 15 years, it did finally kind of have, well, it's not a happy ending, but it's at least a happy next chapter that I was able to refinance it. Just under my name. It's not under both of our names now, but it's just under my name, and it's about 5% fixed. And the payment went from like $480 to now $250 per month. And so that's something that he can more manage, and it's something that became more doable for him once he's able to pay again. So right now I'm taking over the payments, but he's saying that by end of this year, beginning of 26, that he'll be able to take over again. So it's been a long journey with this loan, and it's one of those things like, if I ever come into money, win a lottery, that is the first thing I'm going to get rid of, because I just want to. It doesn't even matter if he pays me back at this point. If I can just like put that away and be done with it, that's what I would rather do.
Makes sense. I was going to ask, on average, how much are these payments? You're saying it's variable, so it went from 4%
Yeah,
to
yeah. I would say for the most part, there were times when he was doing interest only payments. So I think those were around $250, $300, and then there were times where the full payment, which was about $480 a month. Yeah,
yeah for 15 years. That's
right. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
hefty one. Yeah, that's a lot,
Yeah.
and it only went down 3 grand. That's a big
Yes,
one.
yeah,
I'll
yeah, I
admit
mean,
that's
because of the deferments, because of the interest-only payments that he was doing for a lot of the time. So yeah, it just barely made a dent in it over those 15 years. So, I mean,
Oh my
I
goodness.
I I remember my own student loans. Within 15 years, I had paid mine off. So it's kinda crazy to have this loan and, yeah, for it still to be there after all this time.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I was gonna ask a couple questions. So you're an actor in New York. Okay, that sounds exciting as hell. I gotta ask some questions about that. How is that going? What kind of jobs are you in? And have I seen you anything? I'm very curious about that.
Well, currently I'm in Beetlejuice, the musical, which is, it just
Okay.
had been on tour for, about 2.5 years, and now it's coming back to Broadway for the 3rd time. And, yeah, it's been I was with the tour, and so fortunately, there were, only 2 people, unfortunately, that were let go from the cast of the tour, and then they were replaced for Broadway, but fortunately, I was one of those that was kept on, and, yeah, it's such a fun show to do, and Broadway is it's what they say it is. It's just this bigger stage, it's a bigger moment, the audiences are more exciting, it's just there's just a lot more eyeballs on you, so it is definitely, um nerve-wracking, but at the same time very thrilling to finally be here.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad that works out. I've never met an actor, so that's why I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool. Uh, so I just had a couple questions on that. I was gonna ask, so aside from the student loan debt, are you in any other current debt? Do you still have debt, maybe like consumer debt, car debt, anything like that? I don't think New York
No,
people really have
that
cars.
is the wonderful thing. I feel very lucky that that over the years that I have been able to, and years ago, whenever I was living in Orlando, I was able to pay off and finally get rid of all credit card debt, and since then I pay it off every month. So I've been able to maintain that over the years. So yeah, once I got rid of my student loan, which finished in 2012. It was either 2012 or 2013 whenever I finally finished off my own student loan. Yeah, ever since then, I've had no other debt except for this co-signed loan. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. I've had some people come on where they have a mountain of debt. I had one guy from Kenya. I I don't know. I don't even know if I want to post that video just because it wasn't like debt, but it was like he was taking money from people. I was like, I don't know if I can have you on without having a legal issue. So maybe not, but let me think about it. um, but okay, so as far as finances, so because this is like, I mean, I've heard some relationship finances before. My parents have some, and they're terrible. But as far as relationship finances go, did anybody ever be like, "Don't take out the loan. Don't do it"? I mean, because he's a foreign exchange student. Was there
Right, right.
warnings?
Well,
Was
I
there
mean,
anything like, "Hey, maybe not"?
I didn't have anyone specific in my life that was saying it, but over the years, I've listened to people like Susie Orman or Clark Howard or these people who talk about money and personal finance and the do's and don'ts of it. And both of them, as well as probably any other financial planner, would say don't co-sign a loan, especially with I mean forget the foreign aspect, but just like tying yourself to someone unless you're married, then doing joint stuff can work out, if you're married, because at least there's a commitment. But someone you're just in a relationship with that may or may not last, and admittedly, I probably saw the red flags, and I thought maybe this loan was a way to kind of solidify or like help save the relationship. I wasn't really sure, but it felt like the right thing to do, and but yes, it was one of those things where in the back of my mind, I even myself was telling me, "Are you sure? Do you really want to do this? This is, you're on the hook for this. He could go back to Spain and never see you again." So I had those little internal conversations, but yeah, I went through with it anyway.
Well, I'll say this much: I'm glad you had a pretty good takeaway from it. I've heard some that haven't had, but
Oh
this
no,
is so
oh,
far a
believe me.
really good story about it.
Yeah, because even though he was conscientious about it and
Mhm.
diligent in at least making some payments, even if they were only interest only, um, no, it is still something that I worried about because I knew at any moment he could. I mean, he's in another country. He has no
Yeah.
that really there's no consequence to him if he stops paying. except just knowing that he screwed me
It
over.
just falls on you, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, I was gonna say, so what degree did he get? Because I'm assuming you have one in acting, or if you're a natural, hey, that's a bonus too. It means you didn't have to pay for it. But what degree did he get? Because he's the one with the loan.
Right, right. So he had already gotten his bachelor's, and he got that through a Spain university, but then he also did some time in Massachusetts. But the graduate program that he was going with was going to be in linguistics, which was his focus. So yeah, so that was the master's that he was going for in linguistics, and yes, he did eventually get the master's, so he did at least finish that.
Awesome. All right. Um, Well, it kind of answers most of the questions I had. Like I said, I try to keep it really simple and generic. But again, I'm happy to hear your story. It was actually really wonderful. I don't know about you, but I call that more of a victory compared to most of the stuff I
Yes,
heard.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
it took 15. Well, I mean, it's an ongoing thing, and right now I'm making all the payments, and he is not. But the hope is, and he's been good so far, that come next year when his finances are better, that he will take over these payments again. So yeah, it's a
Absolutely.
it's a mild victory in and of just getting a lower interest rate, and finally, it's a fixed rate, so it's not something that's going to change, and so hopefully it should be a lot more easy for him or me to pay off at some point.
Well, and there's always somebody in people's lives where, the trust is there, but then you take that extra risk and it's like, okay, wait a minute. Like for me, I have my parents and my siblings, love them to death, but the trust is very minimal. So, especially when it comes to money. So it
Yeah,
gets really tough, at least from my perspective, to try to go that extra step with money. Because it doesn't solve every problem, and it makes them worse if people start to not pay. So
yeah,
for you, given your situation, that is one of the best outcomes because it's not, I mean, the stress on you, I get 100% because you're tied to it. However,
yeah.
if he's still doing his payments and he's still making them on time and it doesn't really affect you, golden. Just worry about you. That's the best thing you can do,
That's
and then
yeah,
let the time
that's
fade.
what I try
Yeah.
to do. Just stick with my own finances, and hopefully this student loan will just take care of itself over the years.
Yep. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Unaccountable. If you like the content and you want to see more, be sure to hit the like button on the video and subscribe to the channel. See y'all around.